Right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know it's been a while since I've done a regular live show. I do apologize. I've been busy working on the Aiden Clune case. Last week we went out. We were out there with some leads, and then recently, speaking with the mother, we had gotten some possible leads to his last footprints. And anyway, I will play part of his story for anybody that's not familiar with Aiden Clune's background. But it's somebody who went missing 2 years ago, April 27th. We've been searching for him for the past 2 years. He kind of went missing along with around the same time as Dylan Rounds. Although they are not connected, but they're not too far apart from where they went missing. Again, they're not related. But this poor kid's missing for over 2 years now, and we've been out there searching for him. We've done a couple of trips in the past month, and we are going back out there tomorrow because we really feel like everything has been a culmination to this weekend with the evidence and the leads and everything that we've come across, which we'll explain here for those who are not familiar. But good to see everybody. I know it's Aiden Clune's story is not a big one, but he is just important as any other missing person. I wish I could help everybody, but I'm just one person, and we've been out there searching for him, and I feel like if he is out there, I really, really feel like this weekend could be the weekend that we may find some signs of Aiden, and we will explain why here real soon. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Quickly, I will just play a little bit of his backstory. It's just a 2-minute clip for anybody who's not familiar, and we'll get into the leads, and I've got a bunch of footage from when we went out last week. Part of the reason why I wasn't able to go live in the past week is I was finally able to get a program that I've been trying to get a hold of for a long time because I have so much drone footage searching for Aiden Clune. There's particular programs that you can scan your drone footage. It will scan for anomalies. I've been trying to get a hold of a certain program because there's a few out there. I was finally emailed recently by someone who pointed me in the right direction to a website, and I was able to get the program. And so I've been busy for the past week, basically dissecting all the drone footage for any anomalies. And if I get a little bit of time at the end, I'll show you kind of how that program works and why I've been kind of out for a week. But everything is good, and hopes are very high. At the same time, it's kind of a bittersweet situation because I hope there's a scenario that Aiden Clune made it out, but if he's out there, I really do believe that we could find him. So let me play his story so I can get caught up on chat. And then I got tons of bonus footage. If you were here in the members live show yesterday, I've got way more stuff than what I showed yesterday. And we'll explain about the leads and everything else.
Who had his whole life ahead of him. Aiden Clune, just 19 years old, who graduated the year before, was living in California. Sadly, with a tragic death in his family, Aiden began suffering from some kind of mental health issue, and in late April of 2022, he told his mother he needed to get out of town for a while. His plan was to stay with some friends or his dad, but ended up leaving the next day for Utah, where he was going to stay with his grandparents. After reaching Utah and getting closer to his grandparents, Aiden all of a sudden got paranoid and was acting very odd. He would tell his grandparents and a friend that he was now heading to Washington and sped off. He would stop in Wendover on April 26 to get gas and drive another 77 miles to Wells, Nevada, where Aiden would spend the night at a Motel 6. On April 27th, Aiden got up early and checked out. Aiden would then actually head south instead of north, opposite of Washington, on Highway 93, where all of a sudden he would pull his truck over to the side.
He was 19 when his truck was found abandoned by the side of a Nevada highway.
So this is footage of his actual truck being pulled over on the side of Interstate 93 on April 27th. They arrived at around 9 a.m. His car passenger door, I believe, was open, as you can see.
2022.
They said that the passenger side door was open.
So it's possible that he could have still been in that area, in that vicinity, considering that his passenger door was open. It's possible that maybe he had just pulled over and was maybe just kind of taking a breather or deciding where to go, because just before this, he told his family members that he might be going north up to Washington. Keep in mind, his mental health was kind of deteriorating, and he was kind of experiencing paranoia and all these different kind of mental health issues. And it's possible maybe he was pulling over to regroup and was not far from his truck, but then this trooper pulls up. And keep in mind, now he's kind of going through this paranoia phase. And did this, with him, if he was nearby his truck when this happened, did this cause more paranoia, and then he wandered off into the mountain range? It's certainly possible. And getting to chat. Yeah, someone mentioned, see, Cunningham, good to see you. Yeah, that's Dylan Rounds. Different case. That's the other 19-year-old boy that went missing out of Utah, who was actually murdered. Aiden Clune, he went missing a month prior, not far to where Dylan Rounds' case was. It's still about 60-80 mile difference. But considering how big the state is, it's still not that far from where the two had disappeared, and they were literally just months apart, but no connection. And sadly, I think Aiden Clune's story kind of got overlapped with Dylan Round's story. It's just kind of one of those things, certain cases are going to get the spotlight It all depends on the factors, if there's persons of interest, surveillance video, so many different factors that are going to push certain stories into the spotlight where others unfortunately get, not as much attention. It's just the way it goes, sadly. But again, Aiden is just as important as any other missing person out there. So here's just a little bit of body cam footage.
And his wallet, his clothes and belongings, his laptop were all sitting on the passenger seat.
His mother frustrated because you can hear the highway patrol dispatcher say Aiden's name and that he's missing.
So moving on from there, Aiden would travel a long way. So here is, and of course, for those that have been following my channel know that I've been out there searching for him for the last 2 years, especially recently in the last 2 months. I went out with this family. We went out searching for him in April. We then went out there last week, and we are now going out there. I have to go to bed as soon as not far after this live. Got to do a few things. Pretty much got my stuff packed, and we're going back out there, and I'll explain why, because I think we have huge leads, and we'll explain that. But here is the area where his truck was found. There's a little fence there that he probably climbed over. It's a little barbed wire fence that anybody can get through. Here's a different look. So this would be kind of what he would see. And I wanted to show this because this just kind of shows you how vast and how far this kid traveled. What we're approaching here is where he'd be pulling over. And this is Palomino Ridge right here. And if you can see, and I apologize for those that are on their phone, off to the right, you see these, what is the Cherry Creek Mountain Range. You can see it kind of snow-capped over here. He would wander over this ridge and then all the way up into this mountain range, deep into it. And it's just amazing that this kid had been able to travel that far with little to no provisions. We don't know if he had a water bottle. Certainly didn't have the proper survival gear for spending the night, or all he had what is believed to be is a white t-shirt, a hoodie over that, a pair of Levi's, a belt, his phone, and that's about it. He may have had a water bottle, but we don't know. But let me back this up just a little bit. But this white yellow line you see here is kind of the projected path. It's not the approximate path, but they believe that he went right up the Palomino Ridge, which, even though it's just a ridge, it's still a big, it's got a certain elevation to it. It's not small by any feet. And he traveled right up it and through the peak. And then he wandered through the valley, which would lead into the Cherry Creek Mountain. And so here's just kind of a shot from the valley point of view in between the Cherry Creek and the Palomino. Here's some footage, and this was last year in May when I went out there with the family. This footage right here is actually the news crew that I was following. I think it was like Channel 2 or Channel 4, local to Utah. And as you can see, this is the start of the Cherry Creek Mountain Range. And eventually I'll pan to the right and it'll show you how far away the Palomino Ridge is. Just to give you an idea of how much he had already just traveled over this Palomino Ridge. Then to walk into this vast valley, then to go into this Cherry Creek Mountain Range. But so just to kind of show you guys the vastness of it. And we'll talk about what kind of dangers are out in this area. For those who aren't familiar, this is Elko or Wells, Nevada. This is northeastern part of Nevada. A lot of cows. because there are ranchers out here. So we got a lot of moo-moos. And you got to be careful because you don't want to hit these cows. They do wander right in the middle of the road. And as I was kind of wandering on, there is the Palomino Ridge. And just looking at that from just without any context, it almost looks like a small mountain range. That just goes to show you what he had climbed up over and walked. And it's pretty, considering its size being a ridge, it's still long. And we're only seeing just one side of it. And he would travel up and over, and then he would cross this valley. So let me just back it up and just kind of as it pans over here. So as you can see, he would come over and then just in this vast valley walk along. But so cows would be, as far as dangerous, nothing big, but you do have to be careful when you're on the main roads or dirt roads, because if you were to hit a cow, you'll probably be charged anywhere from $25,000 plus on, because that goes to the meat that would be sold for it, the calves. I've heard horror stories on people that have hit a cow and how much they've had to pay the rancher. So just to give a little bit of a perspective on the vastness, and here's me again driving near that same road, and here's the Cherry Creek mountain range. You can barely see it. Again, just to kind of show you the vastness. And then we're gonna move into the Cherry Creek mountain range, and we'll get into the leads and stuff. But just wanted to give you guys a perspective on how much this poor kid traveled with little to no provisions. And April 27th, during the day, with it being desert, the temperature would be decent.
I love that car.
I thought I'd show this. The cows, there's a couple of broke down cars just in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of this valley, and I guess the cows love it. I guess at certain points they could probably get shade on one side depending on where the sun is at. But they got their little calves and everything. But again, you just see this kind of in the horizon here, this Cherry Creek mountain range. And so we're in the valley between the Palomino Ridge and Cherry Creek Mountain. Just again, to give the perspective of the vastness out there. It's amazing. Cheryl Johnson with the $20 super sticker. Thank you so much, Cheryl. It means the world. This will go, of course, to the search efforts for Aiden Clune. It means the world. Thank you so much. Peyton with the $10 PayPal. Thank you so much, Peyton. I know you have donated a lot. There's a lot of people in here. Thank you so much. As you guys know, I put those donations to use, and again, we'll get into the leads, but you guys are truly amazing.
How much?
Anyway, I was taunting the cows for a minute. Anyway, moving on. This is now moving into the Cherry Creek mountain range, and we're going to talk about the leads. And this yellow line is just kind of the projected path of Aiden Clune. Not exact, but there are footprints and tracks that they had followed. Now, they didn't immediately go out and track him. They didn't come out until, I don't know, it was like a week later, maybe two. The weather was kind of off and on for him, but they were able to kind of pick up his tracks, because still in late April, especially when you get the higher elevation, keep in mind we're at elevations that are between 5,000 to 7,000 feet above sea level. In some of these higher peaks, there would be snow if it rained. So when he had walked, some of the more pristine footprints that they found were fairly preserved, because the soil was wet and it would bog down a little bit, and so they would be able to get, and he had tennis shoes on. He didn't have hiking boots on, which there's a lot of footprints, a lot of animal prints, but his are very kind of unique, as he has these Nike Air Force that have what are called peanut-shaped tracks, and so they're pretty unique. Even though there are hunters that go out there, people that camp, this is Bureau of Land Management, which means you can go out there and camp for free. This is kind of the public's land. There are parts that are property of the ranchers, but most of this is BLM land, Bureau of Land Management land, which is the public land. So again, this road here is one of the main dirt roads that come through the valley of the Cherry Creek Mountain Range. And as we see here, this area right here is called the Burn. Obviously, there was a fire. I always say I'm going to look that up and see when that happened. As you can see, everything, little to no trees. Everything's kind of been burnt out. There are some new, looks like trees that are kind of growing out of, the wreckage there. But, it's quite beautiful as you kind of have this desert, trees, wooded area, and then all of a sudden you have this just kind of open area with just a bunch of brush. And then, of course, another broken down vehicle in the middle of nowhere. Truck just kind of adds to the eerie, beautiful, desolate desert that it is. This particular footage was from earlier in April when we went out with the family. Then we're going to kind of move along to what is known as Silo Canyon to our right here. And we're going to get closer to our lead. So again, the projected path, that yellow line. This is on the Silo Canyon. And they believed that he had traveled down this kind of steep part of the peak here. It's very steep. And I ran my drone across this, and we're going to pan over and we'll kind of see the area that we're going to be interested in and why we're interested in it. As you can see here, notice how it's really green. That you got the grass here. And that's because there is a spring. There is an actual fresh water source out there. And that's going to be a huge part of our lead, one of the many. But it does flow down into this canyon or valley area here. But it's believed that Aiden had crossed down this kind of directly behind us, but on this peak here, coming down out of Silo Canyon. And of course, me with the drone, kind of just kind of checking things out, looking for any caves. There are some caves out there. Here is me with Amy and her sister Heidi. We were looking at a rock formation. It was really wild, really beautiful. It was kind of weird. It looked like there was like this sundial thing in there. I couldn't find the footage. This is like the footage after, as we were walking up. I know I have it somewhere, but there was like this weird sundial. Almost looked like it had been there for
Two hikers are about
years.
to have a shocking encounter as they
but we'll get into the leads here soon. We got 200 people in here. Thank you guys so much. Was the truck broke down or out of gas? I don't know, Misty. It's a great question. I wanted to go inspect it, but if you notice, I forgot to mention, if you notice that footage, it starts to snow. And that was when we were out there in April this year, last month with the family, and that was on day 2. We were out there, and I had found that truck. I've heard about it, and I wanted to go walk out there and inspect it, But unfortunately, it started snowing, and the weather just turned horrible, and we needed to get out of there because we were kind of in there deep, and we had a lot of people with us, and unfortunately, I didn't get to inspect it. But one of the biggest dangerous, excuse me, one of the more bigger dangerous things that are out there in this environment as far as wildlife is mountain lions or cougars. And if you don't know what they look like, they're big giant cats that look like lions. And here is a group of hikers, not in the same area, but coming across a mountain lion. And this is something that is, they are predominant out there.
come around a bend. It's a mountain lion, still as a statue, glaring down at them. He blends right in with the background. Now listen as the hikers debate what to do next.
What are we supposed to do, back up? I don't know. What are we supposed to do?
I haven't.
Or go away from it.
The ferocious cat looks like it's ready to pounce.
Be careful. Just whistle if it comes at us. I can't. Back up.
So would you know what to do in a similar situation? Of these options, which would you pick? Run, make a loud noise, stand your ground, slowly back away.
Be loud. Be big.
Tom Stolf, president of the Columbus Zoo.
Could you imagine coming across that? Now, when we were out there with, when I was out there with the family last year, we knew that there was a mountain lion tracking us. We could tell. It was me and Amy's sister, Heidi, and we could tell that there was definitely something following us, most likely a mountain lion. We did back out of there. Of course, we were fine, but we did sense that we were being tracked by a mountain lion. Obviously, just like a cat, they're trackers. They're not just going to kind of waltz up in front of you. They're going to track you like prey from behind, stalk you, and before you know it, they're on top of you. Now, mountain lion attacks are not common, but they are out there, and they are probably one of the more dangerous things that you've got to worry about out there as far as wildlife.
Is an expert on mountain lions.
Once the hikers did get around the corner and see that the mountain lion was right above them, that's when they need to back away. They need to take their jackets off. They need to clap real loud.
Brian McKinney and Sam
Nope.
Vanderhyde are the hikers who
So, yeah, when it comes to mountain lions, make noise, don't run, because that's invitation that you are prey. You back out and you make noise. And the best thing to do, so you just don't get in that situation in the first place, is just make noise off and on as you're out there searching. Because you never know when a big kitty cat is stalking you from a distance, and you would have no idea. And so the best thing to do is to have whistles. I have an air horn that I carry with me. I also have my bear mace. Some of the other parties, they have loaded weapons. I'm not a big gun person, so I'm fine with the mace and the horn. But yeah, you make noise and slowly back out of the situation. But never run. But they are something that are out there. I haven't seen one in person, but we were pretty sure last year we were being stalked by one because we were kind of high up in an area that is known to have some caves, not like big deep caves, but probably caves that would be used by mountain lions. And yeah. One other thing that's you wouldn't think is wild horses. Wild Mustangs are out there, and we actually seen those. I don't know if I got video of the wild Mustang. I might have, but there's wild Mustangs out there, and they are just as dangerous in some sense because they will come at you. From what I understand, I'm not don't know a lot about horses, but from what I've heard, wild Mustangs can be dangerous. Obviously, they're big, very big animals. a lot of weight, can kick you, and yeah. So now moving towards our lead and everything, and I've got a lot of stuff. If 18 doesn't count as being loud. Playing dead, I don't know how playing dead would work. I would say it's probably better than running, because if you run, I think that's just invitation to for it to chase you. As most of you guys know, cats like to chase things. So this is part of the lead, and we're gonna start getting more into it. As you can see on Google Earth here, there is an area, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this up here. This area here, you'll notice that it's greener right here. Notice it's it certainly sticks out, and that is because there is an aquifer, and there is actually fresh water that comes out of a metal pipe. I think there's one or two of them, and it goes down, and then obviously funnels into down here, and then that's the area where I showed you where there's the green grass, funnels in here, and I don't think it's no coincidence that some of Aiden's last possible footprints, and some of these weren't just footprints, they were bare footprints. And I wish I could explain all the details behind the barefoot and why he would be barefoot. But it's something that Aiden would do. That would be characteristic of something he would do. And there was barefoot prints in this area, and we'll get to see this area here in just a minute.
Yeah, you got your hands full.
So here's a little bit of behind the scenes. This was last week. I had my GoPro on. Thanks to the members and Patreons and certain people who had pitched in on getting me it wasn't GoPro, it's kind of a knockoff brand. But we were in the area that is next to the spring. Unfortunately, the road that we needed to go up had, I don't know if it was a recent tree that fell, but clearly was blocking our path. Luckily, Ty has his chainsaw, and so we had to do a little bit of some improvising. And if you need some firewood, I can tell you exactly where to find it. There's plenty of firewood out there. But yeah, we had to do a little bit of that. That road that we're on actually is kind of parallel to this green thing here. Eventually, we'd take the truck up, and we would get up into this area here. Now, if you guys remember, we went out 2 weeks ago. It was just me and Ty, and we ended up going on the west side of this mountain peak here. And this is almost basically the highest point of the peak. And we had noticed something. Up here is a rock formation. I know you can't see it very well, and I tried to zoom in. We could see it much better with our binoculars. But up in this peak, there is a decent-sized rock formation, and you can see that there's a cave in there. Good possibility there may be mountain lions in there. But it's interesting, and we'll kind of circle back around to that. But that is at pretty much the highest peak. And this is just kind of on the other area 2 weeks ago, because we did feel like that's a possibility that he may have went up and over, and we wanted to search some of the west side of the mountain range, as we heard that none of this area has been really thoroughly searched. These red boxes here are areas that I have droned. Keep in mind, these aren't approximate. just to give you an idea that what we have droned. And then same with these boxes here. I've droned a lot more than what is shown, but this is just some of it. Then we see we are looking at the Silo Canyon where he had traveled across. So Aiden had supposedly came across here, dipped down, and then they found some bear footprints in here. And then we're going to talk about his last tracks, and which would be heading towards where we are looking. Or heading towards us, I should say. And I'll just kind of give you an idea. This was last week when we were out there. Tom, man, good to see you, buddy. I think in his case, I think the elements played a huge part in his disappearance. I agree, and we will talk about that in more depth here in just a minute. Thanks for all you do and advocating for the missing people, and I right back to you and to everybody in here for really taking the time. Again, I know Aiden's case is not a bigger talked about case, but we talked about, it's just there's so many and only so many people are going to, stand out at the top. But one of our leads that is very huge, along with this other lead that we'll talk about here in a second, is the phone ping. We're going to combine the two leads here. As you can see, I've got my phone out right now. And the reason I have it is because I have the same service as the one that Aiden Clune had. He had Verizon. He had an iPhone, but he had Verizon. Now, unfortunately, because of this area, there's only really there's a couple of cell towers, but there's only one cell tower that works for Verizon. So that means when they had gotten his ping, his very last ping, they could not triangulate it because they only had one tower. All they could give us is 2 rings. One that's a 60-mile ring, and this ring is from the cell tower itself. So here's the 60-mile ring and a 65-mile ring. All they could say is, hey, he's in between these two points. So we got a 5-mile gap between the 2 rings. But although, of course, that looks like a giant, huge area, if say that's 5 miles wide, 5 miles deep, that's 5 miles squared, or 10 miles squared, I should say. But the one thing that is interesting about this area is that 85% of these 2 points, there is no cell service due to where the cell tower is at. The cell tower is, this red line takes you to the cell tower. Unfortunately, due to the area and the mountain range, it blocks a lot of the signal. So that means everything in this valley, it's almost impossible to get a signal. But when you get up to, say, a higher elevation, you will get maybe 1-2 bars depending. That's very important, which tells us that we can pretty much cancel all this out as far as the ping itself and really narrow down where that ping came from. And then we added his last footsteps, which I'll show here in just a minute. But while I play this, I will get to chat for a minute.
It's amazing. These things you can really...
Jackie says they're nearly as dangerous as chihuahuas.
You can make it to where you can just choose the flight itself. You just go on screen and say, hey, I want you to fly this grid,
Hypothermia would be a big
GPS
factor,
signal.
Alan. We'll definitely talk about that here in a bit.
Yeah, up and down, left, right, yeah.
Skills of Justice with the $10 super sticker. Thank you so much, Skills. It means the world to me. I really appreciate that. Here's just me kind of using the MIA drone.
Yep, you're good, right? Just a little bit. Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about his last footprints here in just a minute, but just kind of give you a look of what it's like out there. Sensei, good to see you. Mopro, do you mean bear footprints or bear? No, no bears out there. No, bare footprints. Barefoot, no shoe, no shot, no socks. Yeah, let's hope there's no bears out there. I don't think they're very common out there. I wouldn't say you wouldn't. That there wouldn't be a bear out there. But I don't think they're very common in this particular area. So this area is, and I'm just going to pause it right here because, and we'll come back to this second. Because what we're going to look at is what we're going to be focused on. And I'm going to show you how huge this shot is here in just a minute. And that peak that I was telling you about that has that that little rock formation with a cave in it, that is just sitting right up on top of this peak here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But thank you, Sensei, again for the donation and the amazing support. Okay, moving on here. So there's just a look at the area that we were out last week. Again, this is kind of where the spring is at. And again, this is where some of his last known footprints were. And I'm going to talk about how Amy sent me exact coordinates of some of his last footprints. So here's just some random shots. And if you're a part of my Patreon supporter or members, I do upload full videos of my drone and on the ground search from my GoPro. There you can actually see the creek there. But yeah, very vast. It's like everything out in this area here. The drone obviously comes more important when it comes to open areas, although, you know, I can still search. You know, if the wooded areas aren't very dense and they're a little more sparse like this, you know, the drone is still useful because I can kind of take it slow. But now we're going to get into his final footprints. And here are exact coordinates sent to me by his mother. And we're going to whip this map around. And I'm going to show you guys. Well, let me play it just a little bit more and then I'll show you. There's me kind of zooming out. And notice, see the two rings that we have to work within? Notice that where we're at is almost right smack dab in between the 60-mile ring and the 65-mile ring. We are almost right in the middle. And keep in mind, we know that we can exclude 85% of this 5-mile radius because most of this area you can't get service unless you're up on a elevated area, such as this area. So again, let me pull up this and show you guys why I think we are on the right track. And I feel like if he is out there, this is the best lead and this is our best shot. And I don't think it's no coincidence that he made it. Oh, excuse me. Get his path here. I think it's no coincidence that some of his last footprints were near an area of water source. The only main fresh water source out there. He made it to that area. I think that's no coincidence. These footprints are actual coordinates sent by the search and rescue. There was also some bare footprints, I believe, out in this area as well. Barefoot. And I wish I could explain exactly why he went barefoot at times. But it's something to kind of ground himself because he was going through, some mental health conditions. But as you can see, his footprints, according to search and rescue, they are labeled east to west. And as you can see, we got one here, one here. We were literally, some of the footage you just saw, this is the road that we were on. So we kind of traveled up this road here, paralleling the creek to the left. And then it cuts over right here. And this is where I set up the drone and was droning this area here. And as you can see, we've got his footprints east to west, east to west. East to west means going this direction. And again, I have my phone out when I was here. And it was only when I got up into this area is when I got a phone signal. His last phone signal was at 8:17 p.m. Now, again, I really wish and pray that there's a scenario that he made it out and he gets reunited with his mother. But if we go with the worst case scenario, sadly, back in April 27th, the temperature, as you can see, just after about 7 p.m., it drops. I can't zoom in. But as you can see, it just drops and it gets down into the lower 30s. And I would say this is probably a 5-degree difference because this is Elko. And I don't think this is accounting for the elevation. So this would probably be a few degrees cooler. And it would just drop. So if he's out there at 8:17, his phone never pings again, which, again, in a worst case scenario, would suggest that his phone never made it out. He was never able to charge it again, or there would be another ping. So at 8:17 p.m., that means it is now almost dark. The sun is going down, if not almost fully down, and the temperature is now dropping. He only had a pair of jeans, possibly a white t-shirt, and a hoodie on him. Unfortunately, when he stops moving, and he had already traveled many, many miles to get into where this area is, I would think he would be very exhausted. And as you can see, here is that shot of the prints. So let me just kind of mirror those images real quick. So as you can see, where we were at, notice this little thin thing of trees here, and then this kind of more square rectangular that mirrors this right here. And as you can see, his last footprints are right here. And so we believe that he either went up and over, didn't make it very far on the other side, or was down right here in this valley. And I really think this is kind of ground zero. This is the area that we are focused on. We want to park the truck right here where we were at last time and then hike up. Although it doesn't look that much, it is still going to be quite a hike. That would probably take 30 to 40 minutes to hike up. But we are at the tippity top. There is also this weird rock formation that has a cave in it that I'm kind of curious about. But what's something that I can do with my drone is once I'm up here, I can fly this drone and clear all of this area out within a couple of hours. You know, depending on how long I want to take to fly. But I can clear a good portion of this out, especially being at such a high altitude. So let me get to chat. I've still got some more behind the scenes. Me walking with the GoPro. If Gail Hurd's in here, I was using her walking stick she gave me. We did also spot something that looked like possible clothing. It could be a rock. I'll show you guys that here in just a minute. We are going to take a look at that because we know exactly where that is. But let me get to chat real quick here. Jackie with the $5 euro. Thank you so much, Jackie, for the support. It means the world. As you guys know, we will put all that to the search for Aiden. Criminal Med says, outstanding, Chris. Thank you, Criminal Med. And this isn't just me. Ty's out there. This is a group effort. So this isn't just me. And of course, this is you guys too. Because I would not be able to go out and do this if it wasn't for you guys. I know not everybody can donate, but just hitting that like button, subscribing, tuning in supports this channel. And I just want to add a little levity to the situation. So we were out there last week. We were out with, and I forget the dog's name, but guess what he finds? He finds a pile of cow dung, a big pile of cow dung, and guess what he does?
Wow.
Wait for it. Right here. Finds a big old thing of cow dung.
Oh, not the poop.
And yeah, he rolled right in it. And yep, he's covered in cow dung. And then of course he wants to give me some lovin's, and I
No.
like, nope, get away from me. I love animals, but not after you rolled in poop. But here's us walking near the creek here. We're on foot searching. I thought that was kind of funny. Let me get to chat here for a minute. Connie, I think I got yours right. Did I miss yours, Connie? If I did, Connie, thank you so much for the $10. If I missed it, thank you so much for the super sticker. You guys know it'll go towards the search for him. Peyton again, thank you so much for the PayPal, and for Tom. Chris, these drones are amazing and saving grace. Yeah, part of the reason I have been out for a week, I'll show you guys at the end, but this hiking stick was sent to me by Gail Hurd. I don't know if she's in the chat. I was hoping she could see her wonderful gift that she sent me put into action here. But not only did we drone, but of course what we would do is we would park on the road, and then we would hike into the woods about 50 yards, and then...
I'm not sure. How far do you want to go down?
Let me turn this volume down. And then we would hike over and out back onto the road. Then we would travel down a little bit, and then rinse and repeat. We would get out of the vehicle. Ty would take the vehicle down the road. We would cut into the woods, go into about 50 yards, cut through it a little bit, and cut back out, and rinse and repeat. Another thing that I hate out here is ticks. I've had so many ticks. I've taken home many ticks. Ticks are terrible. It's one thing why you want to wear a hat is You don't want to get one in your head, because I did when I was a kid, and I talked about this, and I think in a members live, I had the worst nuggie. That's when your big brother gives you a little rub with the knuckles on your head. I had a tick, and I had to go to the doctor, and they gave me the worst nuggie I'll never forget, with some like rubbing alcohol or something to get it out. But yeah, I've brought a lot of ticks back. Unfortunately, I've removed them all, but it is kind of scary because they could have Lyme disease, and that can lead to some scary stuff. But here is a shot. Now, don't get excited. This is something that it's a small possibility it could be clothing. When I first saw this, it really did look kind of like almost like a shirt, piece of clothing. As you can see, zoomed in, it almost looked like there was a sleeve. Upon further review, although it's enough that we are still going to go check it out as we're going up. But I will show you, there's so many rocks that look, even though when you look at that, you're like, that's a rock. But that's the trouble I have, is there's reviewing this drone footage, there's just so many different things that I see. And then pareidolia, for anybody who doesn't know the definition of pareidolia, that's when you say the face on the moon or the Mars. The moon or Mars that we see the face. I want to say Mars, but yeah, where we see something and we make a shape out that's familiar to us, just like looking in the clouds and you see, whatever, Jesus, or whatever. That's a pareidolia effect. So of course that always plays a factor when you're staring at hours and hours of drone footage. But what I believe this to be is more than likely a rock, but it's still enough of an anomaly that we're going to check it out. But I'll show you just kind of. So here again, as you can see, it's probably small. Probably screenshot that. But that there is a rock. Let's see. Why do I always forget how to... Oh, maybe the zoom one. So as you can see, something that looks fairly similar. Right there. And how, this is definitely a rock. But it's weird because it's kind of got like this fabric-y type look to it, that it's enough that it needs to be checked out. Again, this all is in the area of where his last known positions. So to us, we believe, considering, so let me just pull up all my drone searches here. And again, these are just a quarter of my drone searches. I have much more. I just kind of want to put a few out there. But these are some of the areas I've drone searched, and as well as searched boots on the ground. But we believe if the footprints, the last ones that they found, were east to west, this lines up with the 817 ping, because we got service right here. And if you look, this is almost smack dab between the two rings of the cell phone ping. And to us, we believe our best chance is either he just barely made it over, and unfortunately just didn't have enough time because the temperature was dropping. He didn't have the proper clothing and resources to continue on. He had already been hiking for, at that point, 12 hours, with maybe a few breaks. But to look back and see how far he traveled, that's 20 miles of walking easy, going up and down, up and down. That you would be, even though he's 19 years old, I would think that you would be pretty exhausted. Even with maybe some nourishment with water, still no carbs that he would have. And unfortunately, you still have a long ways to go before you get to civilization. So this is our area, and we are throwing all resources at it tomorrow. Might be out there 2-3 days. We might be out there all weekend. But we feel like this is it. If he is there, this is where he's going to be. Yes, Cinnabee, my drone is able to zoom in. As a matter of fact, sometimes you'll see me. Let me. Yeah, my drone is able to zoom. It has 2 cameras on it. It has GPS coordinates at all times. So if there was anything that I see, I have the GPS coordinates literally up on the screen. I can see exactly if there's anything that I spot that is an anomaly. I can literally write down the exact GPS coordinates and then go back to that location. Or if, let's say, if I found a skull, I could literally just tell law enforcement, hey, I believe there's a skull that I had discovered. Here's the GPS coordinates, and they can go right out there. But yeah, it has zoom. The drones these days, what they can do, it's truly amazing. Of course, all my members, viewers, the Mom Crew family pitched in to get me a nice drone, and we have been putting it to use, and I really think it may pay off. For Baby Mom, becoming a member and supporting this channel, thank you so much for the support for Baby. Again, we have a lot of member stuff, and for the Patreons as well, another great way to support the channel. I try to put out something at least a week, or at least once a week for the members and Patreons. Psychology of 9, thank you so much. It means the world to everybody being here. Misty, how many days was the pings over? There was only one ping on April 27th, and from there was no other pings. So to me, that tells me, although it's certainly possible he could have made it out, I don't know why he would drop his phone. I would think he would keep that with him. I mean, if he brought it with him, I think that was something that he clearly had importance with. That was important to him enough to take it, but there was only one ping that they were able to get, and that's his last phone ping. Just kind of like with the Riley Strain case, where there was one last ping, the phone goes dark, it's near the river, and that was because the phone ended up getting destroyed. So, and this is kind of the same case. The only thing is, unlike Riley, there isn't a triangulation. We just have these 2 points, these red rings. And when I mean rings, I'll just kind of show you, just in case if you're wondering what I'm talking about. So here's the cell tower. We know 60 miles the first ring is 60 miles from the cell tower, and the second ring is 65 miles. So between the two rings. And as you can see, everything is right square in the middle. And these line up with his footprints. We know we could get service. Right here is where we were at. Notice this white open patch. That is literally me standing right here is that open patch right there. That is this area. And that was when I was looking at my phone right there. So, anyways, if you guys have any questions, I'll go for just a few more minutes here. Melissa, good to see you. Miranda, good to see you. No, Alan, they have, that's the thing. So here is everything that he was supposedly wearing that day, or that he had on him, which is always very important to, when somebody goes missing, it's always important to get every single detail you can out there as far as what he was last wearing. So he had his Nike's Air Force. Another big one is his Gucci belt that he kind of splurged on. His mom told me the story about that. It was kind of funny. But it's got metal on it, which is good. He had a Santa Cruz hoodie, but they believe it was gray, but it did have the red and yellow logo, which that logo would stand out. Now, with clothing being out there for especially years or a year, the clothing, especially being out in the sun, will fade from brown almost to white, from what we've heard from experts. So you won't be really looking for the original color anymore. And then other than that, he had his phone with him, but nothing has been found. He also had a necklace on as well. And one last thing, so I just wanted to show you guys why I was kind of been busy this last week is some of you know I've been trying to get this program because I have hours and hours, miles and miles of drone footage. And I've been trying to get this program that allows you to pick out anomalies. And so let me just kind of show you. And I was finally able to get that. And let me just kind of give you an idea of what that does. Bear with me. Oh, there it is. So what I would do is I take screenshots of the videos, or if I went out there and just took pictures, I would load them into this program. Now keep in mind, I have to kind of play with the filters and that would take longer. I'm just going to show just kind of the basic idea of what this does and why this is so huge. So I run a folder of photos from the drone search, and what it will do is it will pick out anomalies. Now, of course, I don't have, I have to kind of run through the settings and kind of work with it, but let me give a good idea of. So as you can see here, it's circled. It tells me it's got four areas of interest. Let me move that over a bit. And as you can see, it's got these circles, and it kind of picks out stuff from the environment that, like a color that's off. So here we've got this bush. Notice it's kind of lighter than everything that's surrounding it. Here, probably a little bit of red in there. Same thing with this bush. Notice there's a little bit green. This is a good example. Notice it kind of picked out the red. just something that's off from the picture itself. Here, kind of picked out the yellow. Again, I have to kind of run some more better filters, but here is a great example. Is it picked out one anomaly and it noticed that there's one little color that's off between everything else. And that's huge. And then if you want to get more intricate with the program, you can actually point out specific colors. So if there was clothing, let's say if he had a red sweatshirt on and we were just recently looking for him and he had been missing for very long, the sun hadn't bleached it, I could go and say, hey, just pick out anything that's red, and I could do that with that program. And so there's many things I could do with it. I have a metal detector. It's a cheap one. But that's, it wouldn't hurt to bring that out though. That criminal med, I think I do have one. It's a cheap $50, $60 one that I think I got from Sporting Goods. It works. But yeah, maybe I don't know if I have that or not. Flight Girl Chris, has Amy ever had a chance to talk to a psychiatrist or psychologist to find out better understanding of why Aiden did this? Oh, that's a great question. I'm sure she has gotten maybe some. I'm sure she has talked to a few. I don't know how in depth she. And I'm sure every case and every person is different. And I'm sure that person would need to actually really evaluate them in person or know a lot of what they were doing to really give a diagnosis. But that's not a bad question. So with that, again, thank you guys so much for the support. We have we had 300 people in here. I really appreciate you guys. We're going to be out at least tomorrow and Sunday. We're throwing all the resources we can. Again, one last time, for those that donated, thank you. If you can, for those that are rewatching, PayPal, Venmo, of course, as always, we put it to use and we put it towards the missing. With that, I won't be live for the next few days. If there's something we find, I have to obviously notify. The first person I notify is the mother and the family. And from there, it will be baby steps. But, yeah. I don't think I can just come out and say, hey, we found him, because of course with like Gwen Brunel, it took them a month. They had to go, once they found the remains, they had to go identify it. So they really couldn't say anything for a month. But, we'll just have to kind of take it day to day. But don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But I think we have the best leads since we've started this case, in my opinion. So, with that, thank you guys for the well wishes. It means the world to me. Get a Garrett pinpointer. A Garrett? I don't know what that is. I'm going to write it down, Farmer. That sounds interesting. Mind Lab or DX Farmers dropping some things that I'm writing down, Farmer, just in case. I could use a lot of things, but yeah. Multi-frequency game changer. Huh. We will. If he's there, we will find him. Oh. Alright, guys. Heading out. I gotta go to bed early. But if we can do updates, I will. If not, we'll probably be back on Sunday or Monday, because I'll probably need the weekend to rest. So with that, thank you to the mods for everything you guys do. Dee, Karen, Jocelyn, Jennifer, Copper Horse, Michaela. As always, my wonderful mods do such an amazing job. And with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And we will talk to you guys soon. I love you guys. Again,